Hello and welcome to the CRM Zen Show, where we talk about all things Zoho. This is episode 123, the Mattress and Pillow Game. Recorded on Friday, December 4th, 2020 from Zenata Consulting. I'm Brett Martin.
And I'm Tyler Colt. And let's get right on into the show.
All right, we'll talk a little bit about some upcoming events that we've got. We've got our December webinar extravaganza, we're calling it. So on Tuesday, December 8th, we're going to do Google Ads and Zoho. That'll be with Wayne, who's our Google Ads and marketing guy. And then Tyler and I are going to join up for RingCentral and Zoho. And December 15th on Tuesday, and then December 22nd, we're going to do a special CRM Zen Show where we're going to do the year in review, and we're going to do our first annual Zenmy Awards. That's right, the Zenmys. It's going to be exciting. Normally at this point, I also show over on CRM Zen, we do have our events guide. There is like one event next week. You might want to just head over to crmzen.com, click on events. But it looks like as we head into December, kind of the events are slowing down a little bit. So with that, let's get straight on into the news. A lot of kind of interesting things coming up this week. So we'll start with a marketplace roundup. I've changed this to new and updated because I do notice that they say, hey, here's what's new in the marketplace. Here's what was new in November. But a lot of these were already there. And I think when they get updated, they kind of get put in here. But I counted 23, Tyler. So the marketplace continues to grow and grow. Anything jump out at you as kind of cool?
Interesting. They rolled out, I think these have already been there, but a couple updates out to Lyft and Uber for Zoho Expense. So you're basically able to just easily expense out any Lyft or Uber for Business rides that you take out directly through Zoho. So kind of a nice little update there for those extensions, but really nothing too crazy here across the board.
Yeah, and then this email and phone checker extension for CRM, it's put in here as new, and it's actually going to be our application of the week, so we'll go into it in a little bit more detail, but I swear these were separate, different. This is put out by actually a Zoho partner called CRM Oz. They do some pretty good work. I think they're over in the Ukraine, but we've used the email checker before, and I don't remember there being a phone checker, but it looks like they put them together. So we'll cover that in a little more detail when we get to that. All right, and then this is an interesting update that came in Zobot. It's part of chat handling. So what happens here is that you can have a Zobot automatically go ahead and, after a certain thing, forward a message to a live agent. If the live agent wasn't available, I guess the behavior in the past was it just kind of sat there.
Yep. It would kind of just wait.
It would just wait for an agent to pick it up. So now we've got 30 and 60 second, in 30-second increments, you can say, hey, how long before I wait before? I guess it terminates. I don't know. You're the Zobot guy here. Can you terminate with a message saying, sorry, no one's available right now?
Yeah, in essence, that would be the termination. Similar to how if you were to chat right now without a Zobot and you couldn't connect to anyone, it would basically tell you, hey, no one's available right now. Try again later. Okay. So it's just going to throw that same type of we're not here right now message, which is nice. I mean, definitely a need to have type of functionality in case you don't have anyone on hand when someone is chatting.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised when I read this. I mean, I'm glad it's done, but it was kind of one of those glaring omissions, it seems to me, when the original Zobot was built. So this is a good thing, I think, to bring that back. All right. And then we have Backstage has a bunch of updates that have been done to it. One of them is this rich text editor. So on microsites and on emails, you now have the ability to have rich text editing if you're not familiar with it. It's bold and highlights and text emphasis and all of those kind of things. I swear it was here already for the sites, but I guess it wasn't. I guess you just had plain text.
Yep. Previously, it was just kind of simple text for a basic site. And this just gives you a little bit more control over the look and feel of any of the written language on your microsite.
That's good, as well as the emails you're sending out, evidently.
Yep.
So that's kind of good stuff. And then also, they kind of did a November roundup of all of the things that they added to Zoho Backstage in November. And of course, rich text kind of leads the field here. And then they just had kind of some other minor updates. Nothing really big here.
Yeah, a little minor one is if you have sponsors, you can actually like highlight the different sponsors that you have in a Backstage event. They've added a couple more settings around displaying those sponsors. So you can have like a carousel slider and a couple different layouts for showing any sponsors that you do have for the event, which is nice. I mean, the better that you can highlight someone for sponsoring, the more likely they are to come on board. So good little update, kind of as one of these series of minor changes that they did here.
Yeah, and then moving on here, we Zoho Forms. This is kind of a big one. We've been waiting for this for a long time, but if you're not familiar, Zoho Forms is what it sounds like. It's a form builder, but historically in Zoho Forms, if you were to build out a form, you're the only person that can see it, really. You're the only person that can edit it. You're kind of the only person that can pretty much do anything with it. And now you have this ability to add a collaborator, a co-editor to the form, if you will.
And so basically what this does is it doesn't give the collaborator full admin permissions of the form, which is kind of the dream state, right? That you should just be able to have multiple admins that can do anything to any form. So this doesn't quite get us there, but it does allow them to customize the field options, add things, change, kind of the order of things inside of the form. They can pull some limited reports out of the form in terms of the different entries that have come through. So it's not really like a full-on collaboration between the admin and a co-editor, but they're able to make some of the kind of minor look and feel changes that you'd like.
Yeah, I kind of find the workaround for this is normally just you can change owner, can't you?
Mm-hmm.
That's what you can do? So you can change the owner. That's kind of been the workaround if you want to do this kind of thing. I agree with you. I think the one that kind of gets me is that none of the integration settings or the workflows or the approval workflows or form permissions, none of that can be changed. And that's kind of a big one when building out. And especially in the builder, you don't have any access to payment or CRM fields. And I think a lot of people might.
Yeah, creating a custom theme for one of the forms. That's kind of a big one. You might have someone build the form and another is going to design the theme. So you'd have to basically transfer ownership back and forth in that case.
Yeah, it's a little, it's unfortunate, but it's better than nothing. At least a person can go in now and edit it and do some nice things to it.
Exactly.
So I feel like we're trending in the right direction here.
Exactly.
All right. And then WorkDrive had some updates.
Yeah, so a couple little updates here, mostly around permissions and security. So you're able to, basically get a list of devices that are connected for each of the different members. So if you had 10 or 15 different users, you can see all the different devices that they've used to access forms or any documents that you have in WorkDrive. This is kind of just a security thing, right? Just to be able to make sure that if anyone had a login that was from an odd location or a device that they don't have, you could lock things down and make sure they're not seeing anything that they shouldn't if there was any type of security breach. You're also able to decide. Yeah, you're kind of able to decide. It's almost, it's not like mobile management, but you're able to disable desktop apps or mobile apps for team members or, hard disconnect devices just as an admin here. So kind of just a suite of security settings around device management. And it's definitely nice to have because it's not rare that you might have some confidential or proprietary documents in WorkDrive. So you need to be able to see who and what devices are being used to access them.
Yeah, I mean, not that it's foolproof, but if you do have an employee that's working for you and they're using the synchronization feature with WorkDrive and they're saving files to their local desktop, I mean, the ability to wipe out all synced and offline WorkDrive files, that's pretty big. I mean, it's not the person could copy them to another folder. They could have done anything. But, if you're going to let someone go and that PC is live and online, or the first time it comes online and connects, it's going to wipe it out. So, it's just WorkDrive getting more and more enterprise ready. They're doing a pretty nice job with that. All right. And then Zoho Recruit had a couple, has some updates. And then an interesting thing, I can't quite make this out, but I know that Zoho Recruit has very much been going after recruitment firms who want to run it as an agency. And so they're actually running, I've never seen Zoho do this, but they're having a happy holidays offer. And it's 30% off upgrades and to all of their annual plans. So there you go. You get 30% off on all annual plans starting December 1st, and the offer is valid to the end of this month. So if you have standalone Zoho Recruit, now is the time to take advantage of that savings, because that's significantly better than they usually give, right, on an annual plan.
Your normal annual plan is going to be, 20, maybe 25% cheaper, but this is kind of on top of that rate. So, you're looking at, if your normal annual plan is 20% cheaper, there's another 30% on top of that. So compared to paying monthly, definitely worth looking at. If you're on a monthly subscription, it might be a good time to go ahead and just pre-purchase for the next year, because you're going to save a big chunk of change doing it.
Yeah. And then also all the product updates for Zoho Recruit. Some interesting ones here. So there is an Australian job board. The number one Australian, New Zealand job board is one called Seek. And Zoho now has beta access with Seek, which I think is going to be a good thing for them. And then just kind of some really minor updates, but nice ones that they did. They've moved the education and experience into the details tabs. You can kind of see there's some small changes there. And the quick view option is now available for vendors and all of the other custom modules. And they even acknowledge this, the Zoho Recruit team. We want to keep you informed of even the smallest of changes. So I tell you what, I really appreciate this, because sometimes we don't get these small changes and things do move around. And you're like, hey, where'd it go? So it's kind of nice. And the Seek service is pretty, this looks pretty good. I was checking them out, the job board here. I guess, if I ever decide to relocate to Australia, dude, I know where to go. That'll be it. And then rounding out the Zoho news for the week, Zoho Books got 3 new updates. Almost all of them are around reporting.
Yeah, so the kind of first one here is a little bit more specific permission sets for reports. So previously, when you were looking at a user's permission set, you'd basically have, can they see reports or can they not see reports? I think you could go one level deeper and say like accounting-based reports versus like sales-based. You had some kind of basic breakdowns of what type of reports they can see.
Right.
But now you're basically able to go in and get really granular, allowing people to either view, export, schedule exports, or share reports, all as individual permissions that you can turn on and off. So that's really nice. I mean, before it was like if they could see it, they could export it, which you might not always want that to be the case.
And the user permissions in Zoho Books, I mean, a lot of times we talk to a lot of clients, they just don't realize how granular you can get in there.
Yeah.
I mean, you can give a person access to books, but they can't see bank accounts, they can't see balances, they can't run reports, maybe.
Yeah, you can basically go like, if you run down the left-hand side of books, you can basically go by each different section and say they can view, they can edit, they can delete, they can create, they can see things that they don't own, at a module by module basis. So
no access, right?
Yeah. And so it's helpful because you might have a sales team and they're going to be able to work on, estimates, sales orders, invoices. Maybe you only want them to be able to see purchase orders so that they don't go in there and mess anything up for the purchasing team, and, vice versa. So you can get pretty granular and make it work for you.
Yeah. And then this other little update they did, which is report sharing. I really like this because this is over and above. You've got a report, you'll want to share it with somebody. And you can go ahead and share it, and you can give them the various permissions, view it, export it, just view it. Fairly nice.
Yeah, last little minor update here is just the ability to add a temporary note to a report. This one's a little bit interesting. So it's a note that's displayed in the footer of the report that disappears once you refresh the page. I'm not really sure I can think of a use case for it, because really if you're going to add the note and then pull it up and it's going to go away when you refresh it, then really only you would ever see that note, right? Am I misreading it somehow?
Well, maybe this is the share thing, but you're right. It's gonna
like share with a note, maybe,
I don't know. I wonder if you print, maybe it's when you're going to print the report.
Could be. Yeah. It could be printing. Yep.
So if you wanted some notes down at the bottom of you did this, you wanted some notes, you're going to hand it to you're the CFO, you want to hand it to the CEO or something.
I think that would probably be it, is for exporting.
Yep, and then some small little updates to iOS. You can filter your charts in the dashboard. Nothing really major there. But every month we get these really, really nice updates from the finance team, and so it's always good to see what they're doing there. And then Zoho subscriptions had some nice updates. This one's kind of cool. So Sales IQ, which we actually did our webinar on here recently, it now you can have chat when you're inside of the Sales IQ customer portal. So if a person, not Sales IQ, the subscription customer portal. So if someone's subscriptions, there's a customer portal which allows them to change their subscription, cancel their subscription, do those kind of things. You can now embed chat into that. So kind of nice. And then additionally, they have added integration. Now, this was only for basically the UAE and Saudi Arabia editions, a payment portal called PayTabs, and they now have made PayTabs available globally. So haven't really looked into this too much, but now it looks like they're, it looks like maybe PayTabs is going global, or maybe if you just have a version but you still want PayTabs because perhaps you're accepting credit cards in the Middle East. I think that might that's probably the reason for this. But yet another.
Yeah, it looks like if I give their website a quick scan, it seems like it's mostly focused on targeting that international business kind of demographic.
Yeah. So anyway, my guess is you're right. We're right on that. It's got to be that I'm doing business here, but people want to, I'm selling goods and services, so I would need PayTabs, and I'd set that up. All right, Tyler, and that brings us to our implementation of the week. What do we got?
Yeah, so this was one that was really driven by Zoho Analytics, and it's cost per lead and customer acquisition cost reporting via Zoho Analytics. So these are kind of two common metrics that you might want to know just in general for your company. If I look at all of my different, marketing expenses, or all of my different marketing and sales expenses, what does it cost me to bring in one new lead? And, what does it cost me to acquire a customer, right? So actually win a deal for one of those leads. And so basically what we're able to do here is pull in the lead and deal information, synced into one workspace from Zoho CRM. And then we can pull the spending and expense data into that same workspace from over in QuickBooks Online. You could also do this for Zoho Books. This specific implementation came via QuickBooks. And then basically what you can do is, all your different expenses are going to be assigned to a specific general ledger account. So for our client, they have, an account or a handful of accounts and sub-accounts that basically correlate to, marketing expenses, PPC expenses, all those different types of things that would roll into a cost per lead. And then they have another set of accounts kind of around customer acquisition. So, if you're going to expense a client dinner, if you're going to, expense a trip out to see one of these, well, not these days, see people in person, but, traditionally see someone in person or, send a bag or, gift basket their way. Basically, you're able to roll together all the different expenses in those accounts and categorize them properly. And then what we do is, we pull a couple different aggregate reports that are basically looking at, okay, for the month of November, what was all of our spending in those, specific general ledger accounts? And then how many leads did we generate, right? And then we're able to basically do comparative work to say, for those 100 leads, you spent $1,000. So, your cost per lead is $10. And, you can do that same thing with the cost for deals won, basically just by selecting a different or a set of different general ledger accounts and comparing those to your closed won deals month over month. So it's kind of a quick way to get these reports. I will say, the more granular you can get, the better. For this one, it's really just looking at overall, what is all of our spending versus specific leads. You could be more granular if you knew that, leads coming in from AdWords, we're going to have a specific source. And I know that my expenses go to a specific account. So you could add some filters based on, your source information and say, here's my cost per lead from AdWords specifically. a little bit more of a workup right now for this. We kind of started broad to get the big picture numbers, and over time we'll kind of dig in deeper to the spending.
Yeah, but your cost per lead, and then your customer acquisition costs, those are super, super important. And then just to be able to drive down on this and get this kind of detail, and it's all the new, the QuickBooks. So is the QuickBooks Online connector, are you finding it to be pretty robust? Gives you everything you need?
Yeah, pretty much gives you everything you need. The one little oddball thing that we had with the online connector is in QuickBooks, you basically have an account. Let's say you have an expense. You would associate it to an account. So let's say we're associating it to the PPC spending account, your general ledger account.
Right.
Then you also have the split, which is, like where the money's actually going to come from. So I'm going to, pay for this on a credit card. We did have a little oddity where if I looked at the expense data directly, it was assigning the split as the account rather than like the general ledger account that it was actually assigned to. So there's kind of some odd naming differences. So, we'll see that I highlight kind of, spending here is that we're actually correlating expenses to transactions to pull the transaction account, which was actually linking to the proper, PPC spending general ledger. So there's a little bit of workup. It gives you all the data you need. It wasn't really named exactly how it looks over in QuickBooks. So we had to kind of walk through that. It's a good call to have your accountant on for, just to make sure that we understand how everything's being done behind the scenes, but you can definitely get there. And with Zoho Books, it'd likely be even easier just because it's all kind of native to the system.
Nice. All right, let's move on to this week's read. Me and SEO, man, I love it. It's this total black art. It truly is a black art to figure out how to work. If you're not familiar, search engine optimization, I think we've probably had half a dozen articles on search engine optimization that we like to talk about. And I read at least one or two articles a week on it. It's one of those things that you can buy Google ads, and that will, when people do a search for your product or service, it's very targeted and that ad's going to show up. But what you really want is you want to show up organically on the page, meaning without buying an ad. You want your website, your content to kind of show up on that first page of a Google search, if you will. And the only way to do that is with search engine optimization. And, once I think we had an article a while back about, here's how they've changed it, the moving target over the years, right? Mm-hmm. How they've done their SEO and all that. And so in this instance, this is kind of a real deep dive on, content and how you drive it and what you need to do. And I tell you what, I like this article. They use an acronym called EAT, expertise, authoritativeness. Did I spell that right? Authoritativeness? Yes, I don't think I've ever spelled that. And trustworthiness. So I guess expertise, authority, and trustworthiness. Is authoritativeness a word, Tyler?
Authoritativeness.
Am I just mispronouncing it? Authoritativeness? Authoritativeness. Well, as an English major, I find sometimes maybe I'm just tired. Another cup of coffee. Anyway, look, if you are trustworthy and you are authoritative and you do have expertise, yes, those articles are going to get somewhere. I don't know how Zoho is, quite frankly, parsing that. I think it just kind of comes through from the number of people that are coming to the article. But this is a good read. It's a couple pages, and they definitely cover a lot of what you need to do around content, as well as some small little SEO hacks.
Yeah, and it's definitely an interesting, game from when SEO was first kind of arriving on the scene. It was basically just put as many buzzwords as you can in all of your articles, put as many tags as you can in all of your articles. And, over time, Google has really refined their algorithm to be a little bit smarter than that. So it's really mostly about being, specific about the content, making sure that the way that you're SEOing content matches the intent of someone searching for that content. Right. So it's just more and more complicated over time as, the Google brain continues to improve.
Yeah, it's It's really interesting, and I think they are getting better. This article mentions actually something called BERT, which was bidirectional encoder representations and transformers. And that's really them looking in using natural language processing to kind of look at an article, more importantly than keywords, to try to understand the intent, right, of what's kind of going on in an article and driving it that way. So it's good. I just wish when I searched for what is the best fill in the blank, that they could just filter out all of the clickbait sites that are just trying to get me
anything with an affiliate link.
Yeah.
If Google could filter all things with affiliate links from those searches. We were talking about the other day, I was looking to get a new pillow. And, any search I would do, what's the best pillow for this? What's a good firm pillow? Every single link is an affiliate link. So, you have no way to know what's actually good and what isn't, because, they're monetizing their recommendations.
Yeah, the whole pillow and mattress game is insane. I mean, if you look at that, the websites that are supposed to be the authorities on this are in fact, really not. They're just kind of shills for one or the other. And there was a whole article on that. So I don't know. Yes, so the pillow and mattress game. That's it. That's what it's all about. That's your SEO. All right. And that brings us then to what's new on Zanata.com. Really great new blog. I love it. We've got some new writers. This is Shopify and Zoho, modernizing your website, bringing it all in. We just did a webinar last week on Shopify and Zoho. This is kind of a follow-up to that, and really brings in some, overall tips, how it works, what it does. And I think it's a good read. This is more of the type of content, as we're just talking about with SEO, that I'm really looking for us to be doing. So I think this is some great stuff. And of course, there is the webinar that was done with myself and Tavin Boynton last week. And so, enjoy that. And then we also have got our webinar, which was integrating Shopify and Zoho. You can check that out over on our YouTube channel. And we have continued our drive to find any Zoho content that's floating out there. Every time we think we're going to run out, we're not. So this is a Zoho inventory one on stocking, safely stock formula. And it's got some really nice things on inventory and how to manage it. It is a 23-page PDF and well worth taking a look at. And then over on Zoho campaigns, they've got battling cart abandonment, another one that we found that is just quite good. And really, this just talks about how you can, set up campaigns to do automatic triggers when a cart's been abandoned. And by the way, we talk about this on the webinar as well. If you're using Shopify or Woo or any of those, well, Campaigns has got some nice plugins to handle all of that cart abandonment for you and all of those kind of things, and automatic customer follow-up and all of that. So again, there's a nice little 13-page PDF that steps you through that. I'm just, I don't know. We keep finding them. It's a good thing all the way around.
One day we'll run out, but until then, onward we go.
Let's keep going. Hey, and that brings us to our application of the week. So this is cool. This is the email and phone checker extension for Zoho CRM. Basically, we have to do this a lot. Oftentimes we'll have clients, and I'll say it's legitimate. They had a newsletter and they got subscribers, and maybe they had 10, 15,000 subscribers to their newsletter. And now they're switching over to us, but in the process, they haven't emailed the people on that newsletter for maybe a month and a half, 2 months or something. That might not seem like a lot, but what you end up with are just an amazing amount of bounces that can occur with that. We oftentimes see like a 2 to 3% hit rate. Actually 1 to 2% a week on big lists like that, where people aren't working there anymore. Those email addresses are invalid. And one of the things that'll really, really, really get you is if you're doing a big email blast and your bounce rate gets up above, 2-3%, then they're assuming that it's not authorized, that you bought a list and you've got old names. So if you have a big list like that, we recommend you run it through something like clearout.io or hunter.io. Those are great services. You can upload the list. They're going to validate all those emails, let you know if they're good, bad, bounce, or whatever. But if you're doing things in real time, this is a great app. And so we've used the email one before, never have used the phone one. But what this does is it checks them in real time as they're added in. And if you're watching us on the video, you've kind of got these screenshots. So it's kind of giving you a whole leads view here. And, if you look at this leads view, it's got the person's name and it's got an email status, which tells you it's safe to send. They got a phone status, which tells you if it's a real phone number or not. It even tells you if it's a mobile number or if it's a fake number, real email addresses, safe to send, fake email addresses. And so you basically can parse your list this way and completely keep your data clean, and you're keeping it clean in real time. So it gives you your mobile status, your secondary email status, your phone status, your email status. So it's going to basically check 2 phone numbers, 2 emails, and report back to you as to whether or not they are real or fake. It even does some things such as clean up the, let you know what country it's from, so you get country codes and things like that. So pretty good stuff.
Yeah, a good plugin. There's also kind of ways to do this just programmatically with the CRM. You're looking at $29 a month for this, $299 for a year. If you are deluge savvy, there are ways and API services to do this directly, but as a plug and play option, one that you can just basically drop in and you're off to the races with, it seems so far to be a pretty good application. And again, like Brett was mentioning, we've used the email checker in the past, and it was a solid application, worked in essence the same, and it looks like they've basically expanded functionality here out to phone numbers, which is pretty slick.
Yeah, we usually, if we're going to review one of these things, we run it. So we ran their email checker for a while, and I think we talked about it, I don't know, 100 shows ago, it seems like. But anyway, I do think this is brand new. I think they've combined it all. And so good stuff. I'm happy to see these guys kind of keep working through that. So, and that brings us to our tip and trick of the week. This is cool. This is really cool. So Zoho Show has basically got this feature in it that I had no idea. You can build a table in Zoho Show and you can animate that table. So if you're watching our video here on screen, let me just take that back. If you're watching the video here on the screen, you can kind of see that basically it's you just drop a regular table in, and maybe it's got columns and headers. And as you're doing your presentation, it will dynamically build that table row by row, column by column. You can have them bounce in or slide in or do anything. But they do so much. They do a lot of really interesting things with Zoho Show that you don't see. They're little timer widgets and all the other things that they do. And I don't see these in a lot of the other presentation softwares, but I think that ability to kind of animate these tables is, anyway, thought it was a cool tip. I hadn't seen it before.
Yeah, they have a lot of these little things over there in Show. I remember it was, a handful of shows back, we talked through their little icon overlay. Yeah. That they have, where you can take these different icons and overlay them and say, this one's top, make this part transparent, make this look like this. And you can just build out these icons, with a couple clicks and drags. It's kind of interesting. Like you're saying, I don't see that in Google Drive. I haven't seen it in PowerPoint. Maybe they're there and I just haven't seen them, but cool little bits of functionality from Zoho Show that just make it a little easier to make the presentation pop.
All right. And that's a wrap. If you want to reach us, you can drop us a line at zenata.com or over at crm.com. We've got forms there you can fill out and easily get in touch with us.
And on the website is where you'll find show notes with links to the stories we discussed today. As always, you can follow us on your favorite social media platforms and subscribe to us on your favorite podcast app, as well as on YouTube. We'll see you next Monday.